Okay, everyone, it looks like we have most everybody joined with us now. So again, I just wanted to thank you all for joining us today for back to school prep for this fall 2024 for OmegaOne. We are going to go through a few different things today, and we're glad to have you here. My name is Sarah Beth Russell. And my co-host with me today is Hannah Gunderson. We are both professional services specialists on the professional services team here at OmegaFi. And be in the question box today. So if you joined us a little earlier, you may have heard me ask you to drop your favorite thing you're looking forward to this fall for fall activity. For me, I want to go to the pumpkin patch, so very excited about that. But go ahead and drop yours into the question box down there just to make sure that that is working for you, and Hannah will be in the questions during the webinar, and then at the end we'll also hold a Q&A where we'll be able to go over some of those questions live. But we will go ahead and get started today with our agenda. So for fall, how do we get started? So the things we're going to kind of go over today, adding new users and updating old users. Fall is for a lot of people when they bring in new members. So we'll go over how to update that. We'll also look at calendar setup. Normally, fall can be pretty busy with a lot of different events, so how to set up the calendar and all the things that interact with that. We'll also look at points and study hour setup, so that way you can get your point opportunities in for fall, as well as study hour setup, locations and goals for your members for that for this fall. And then we'll also look at using your files to share and archive chapter resources. And then lastly, we'll look at our communication options within OmegaOne so you can stay connected with the other members of your organization. And then last, we'll go over Q&A. First, we'll look at here the login email. So whenever you are adding your new members, they will get an email that looks like this. They'll be able to create their account. If anybody has a third-party login that they use where they add their members and it pulls into OmegaOne, they'll use the same email as whatever they set up for your organization third-party login. Otherwise, you'll create the account. They'll create their account with whatever login that they set up with whatever email that you added them with. So we'll go ahead and go over into OmegaOne to look at that. So going to the side menu here, you can see there's different icons here. If you want to expand the menu, you can for the words, but we're going to go to the admin tools down here, and we're going to go to our manage users. So this is how you're going to add your users so they can get that login email. So looking at this, you'll have two different options here. If you have the option here to add a user, then you'll be able to directly add them in OmegaOne. If you do not see the ability to add a user, that means you add them in a third-party login. So more than likely, your organization's login under, organization.org or whatever that is, that login there. When you add them there, they will then pull into OmegaOne. But otherwise, if you have this option, you can just add them directly into OmegaFi. So you can add them this way, one by one. If you only have a few new members, you may do it that way. Or you can add multiple users at a time. By the add multiple users, we have a template here that you can download that gives you the fields that you need for that. And also the instructions are here, how to save that file before you uploads to ensure that those upload correctly. And then you can just upload those users once you attach the file. Similarly, depending on where you add your members, that may also be where their access level and membership type are determined. So if you need to update a member and you don't have the ability to do it here, then you may just need to update them in your other login and it'll pull into OmegaOne. But otherwise, you can update member type and access levels within OmegaOne itself. So for here, if you have anybody who is still listed as a new member from spring, you can update them to a regular member, or anybody who's graduated, you can mark them over to alumni. And same with access level. If any officers or e-board members, anything like that has changed, you can update them accordingly. Admin level is going to give full access to all the admin tools, whereas officer gives them access to most of them, except for anything that is managing like user type typically. So you can update the officer and admins accordingly. So if anybody has come out of a role, you can drop them back down to normal, and then they won't see the admin tool at all, etc. And then you can also use these here to update OmegaFi login emails, as well as resend a login email if they did not get that. So you can use that there. So this is how you can update your users accordingly, and you can search this. So if you want to look at just your admins to make sure that everybody looks correct, just your officers, and then all of your members, you can do that as well. You can also look at anybody who's just new members, etc. And you can also add your alumni in if you want to see those also. I don't think we have any alumni listed in our test chapter here. After you have updated your users accordingly, next, the thing that you'll want to kind of do is set up your calendar. Everything kind of can stem from your calendar in terms of the different things that are involved with that. So we'll look at the calendar setup. Again, that is also under the admin tools. You go to manage calendar. There's several different things you can do here. You can link to points possibilities as well as set up check-ins. So the first thing we'll look at is up here, you can do some color settings. We have several different color settings here. The labels you choose are up to you, so you can edit these accordingly, whatever labels work best for you. And this just helps to organize your events by color, help it be a little more distinctive what events are happening. Certain things, if they're particularly important, you might want to do like work week, obviously is normally a pretty big week for recruitment. So we have that as red. So just depending on how you want to structure that, you can. And as you can see, it'll just show that event in whatever color you have that in. So the way you'll do that is through your event setup. So we'll look at that here. For this, we'll just do, let's say we'll do pref night for recruitment. We'll put that in. And then depending on how you want these set up, you'll need to say who it's visible for. So especially for checking into events, if you want certain people to be able to check in, then you'll need to make sure you update the visible to. It's always going to default to your admins, and officers will always be included on that because they have access to the calendars and everything. So they'll always have access, and then your members are going to default. New members, sometimes you may have events like Big Little Reveal, and if it's going to be a surprise, you may exclude new members, or you may have events that you don't want the members on and you only want the new members on for things that they have going on, depending. So just go through, select if you're having an alumni event, or if alumni are coming to help with preference night, you can select that alumni are on that as well. So just make sure you are going through that to make sure that way everybody's getting the correct notifications. I know a lot of times we'll have people say new members aren't getting any notifications, they're not seeing any events. A lot of times the case is that they weren't selected on the event, and that's why. So just make sure you update that. Then we'll just go ahead and choose a date. You can have it span multiple days depending on like what the event is. You can have it as an all-day event. If it has a specific start time that you want to do, you can just update it by clicking through. And once you pick your time, you can do a few different things here. So you can allow members now to RSVP. So if you want them to go ahead and say they're coming, this may be like if you're doing an event with your alum and you want to have people RSVP so you can get a count for that. This is something that you may want to put on there, or even for your members for events that aren't necessarily mandatory, you can have the RSVP option to send out. You can also make something a recurring main event with the recurring events. You won't have the option for check-in, but you can, and same with linking to points, but you can make an event recurring. We have our chapter event that recurs. And then you can choose your event color. So we saw the color settings. Here's where you would choose that color so you know what color is going to show up as in the calendar. And then from there, you can choose a check-in type if you want to have a check-in. We have a few different options. You have location-based check-in. So if an event is happening in a specific place and you want to ensure that the members are there to check in, you can set a location-based check-in. When you do that, it'll have you put in your location and you'll just draw your location in there. So if we zoom in, we want to draw the location, put it in the center and click and drag and make sure you're fully encircling whatever location it is to make sure that that radius is big enough for people to check in. And you can also set a timer on that. So if the event starts at 6 and members need to be there by 6:30 to be counted, whatever that is, you can set a timer for check-in, or if it's like a 10-minute check-in window, whatever you want to put that is. And then you can also link them to a points possibility. We don't have one set up for this, but if you did have one already set up for points, you could go ahead and select it and it'll set it up for that point possibility. Then whenever they check into the event, it will give them that points possibility. And that's for all the check-ins. The next check-in type we'll look at is a passcode check-in. This will just generate a passcode for the event, which then you can share with members when they arrive to be able to put in to check in. This is good for like large events where maybe one person is leading something, and then they can just give the passcode to everybody in the room. And same thing here, you can have a timer or link that event to a check-in possibility or a points possibility here. This, you would have an admin that is set up with the QR on their phone. This is really good for specific events where you may need to go see a certain admin when you come in to be assigned a role or anything like that. Maybe for this, like since we're doing pref night, maybe there are certain setup things that are happening and you need to see the recruitment chair or assistant recruitment chair, somebody on the committee. They would have the QR code, you would scan it, and then they would tell you where you need to go. And so you would just directly see whoever has that QR scan. Same things available with this one. You can also have where members can submit excuses. So if it's a mandatory event and they need to be able to submit an excuse for that event, if they're not going to be able to make it for class or anything, you need to check this to allow them to be able to submit those. If it's an event that is just if you can go type thing, then you may not want excuses on that. Since it's not like mandatory, so you don't have to have that, but for something that you want excuses to be able to be submitted where you can approve or deny them, you would want to check that. And then here at the bottom is where you can control how notifications are sent. So you can email or text that out for the initial alert, and then you can send a reminder text. So if you click to send the email or text reminder, you would then select what day you want it to go out. So we may want it to go out the day before at 5. And then you can also say to publish it to the wall and send a push notification within the app. So pretty customizable here. If you do choose the option for a text message, your members will need to have that option to receive text in their profile set up, which we can look at later. Typically, emails are going to go through anyways for notifications as long as your member has logged into OmegaOne. But text messages, they'll need to adjust that in their profile if they don't already have that set to yes. And then when you're done, you can just add the event and it will show up in the calendar. So we did do a check-in on this. This is where you can retrieve the QR code, or if it was a passcode, you would see the passcode here as the admin. So you can pull that up on your phone whenever you're ready for the event. And then afterwards, you can see your checked in members as well. So this will provide you an automatic roster of everybody who was at the event when it occurred, who all checked in at least. And you can also edit the event from here, and it'll just take you back to that. So if later you put in a points possibility and wanted to link that, you could go in and do that. A lot of different things you can put in here. You can see we have stuff for Greek Week, different intramural sports if you have a schedule for that. Dinners, chapter, anything you can think of, you can put it on the calendar to make sure your chapters or your members are staying connected and that they are aware of the events that are going on, especially those that they'll need to be at. So go ahead and in fall, the best thing to do is just go ahead and get started with your calendar, add all the events that you are aware of, especially those that everybody will need to be at, and that is a great way to get started. And then when we go back, if we go back to our wall here, we'll see that that event published on the wall. So next we will look at our points. So again, under the admin tools, we're going to go to manage points here. You can manage your points possibilities. We already kind of have some set up here. So we have new member, campus, chapter. These are our categories, and then underneath each of them are the points possibilities that they have. So you can see here up on the right upper hand side, we have this little menu here. This is where you can add those categories and the points possibilities themselves. So let's say you want to add specifically a points possibility for intramural sports. You can go ahead and click add category, put the name for that, and then hit add, and it will populate in this list. And then when you want to add a points possibility, you can do so by clicking add points possibility. It'll pull this up accordingly. You can put in the label, whatever the description for that is, and then you can set a max score. So let's say if you are giving points for bid day and the max score is, let's say 20, you can say this is a bonus point opportunity. So depending on how you have your points set up, which we'll look at in a minute, you can have like a total amount of points that everybody needs to get, or just in general type X amount of points are available. So you can put this as a bonus point opportunity, or you can hide the points possibility so they won't see how many points it's worth. Then you can also choose if they can get different amounts of points. So let's say, for example, if this was like chapter and they showed up late for chapter and they only get like half the amount of points or something like that, you can set that to have different amounts of points. And then that way, whenever you go in to assign them points, you can put in how many points they actually receive. So we'll just set it for you get the points or you don't. If they are checking into this event, if you're going to link it to a calendar event, then they'll automatically get it. Otherwise, they can either appeal for the points, or you as the admin can go in and click through everyone and assign who is receiving those points based off a roster you put together. This is where the check-in really comes in handy. So if you set the calendar event and they check in for bid day, it automatically gives them the points and gives you that roster of who all is there. And then we put what category that's going to go under for us, and then we can do an appeal cutoff date. So if you're not having to check in and they need to appeal for points, if you maybe review those monthly and they need to have that in by the last chapter of the month, you may set the date for that. And then here also, similar to the calendar, you want to make sure whoever is eligible for getting those points, that they're able to see them. So if you don't have any new members at the time that bid day is happening, then you don't need to select new members. For other events, you may end up selecting them, or if they're new member specific events, you may select them and not just the members. Kind of customizable how you can set that up, and then you can add that points possibility accordingly. And then you'll see it in your points possibilities there. The points breakdown, that's what we are looking at here. You can also look at it by person if you want to see. The way we have this set up is, shows how many total points they have and then the percentage of the amount of points. So we have this set up where basically they're supposed to get X amount of points, and so you can track the progress of that here. We looked at adding the points possibilities in the categories. This is where you can manage appeals. So if you have points that are being appealed, Jacob here appealed for certain points, you can approve or deny that accordingly. And then when you go to approve or deny it, so this is one where you can get different level of point amounts. So he's requesting 8, we can approve or deny, enter how many points they're actually getting if it's not what they're requesting or whatever that is. And then you can approve or deny it and put in a reason. When you do that, it'll send them a confirmation email on whether they were approved or denied, and if so, what the reason is. And you can send that reply. And you can also export the appeals. And then once you've approved or denied it, it'll show over here in the resolved appeals. This here, you can export the point possibilities here. And then you can also print this page. And here is where you go to your settings where you actually can change the way your points are set up. So here you can see what groups you're tracking for this test account. Like, we're not tracking new members, just members. And then you can say they're exactly the same. So if you are tracking for both, you can say they're the same for new members and members, or that they're not. You can do percentage settings. So to find each person's percentage of total points were set by you. So you can set, okay, members need to have 200 points, and then that's how it will do the percentage. So I think the way ours is set up is as you add points possibilities, that is the total number it goes by. But here would be, maybe you don't have all your points possibilities in, but by the end of the semester, a member needs to have 150 points, and it will take it out of that number rather than how many points possibilities are out there. This is also good for each semester looking at it. If you don't want to necessarily get rid of your points possibilities and previous points, I know sometimes points will be used for different things, maybe priority on rooming assignments, anything like that. So if you're not clearing out your points each semester, this is nice to do the number set here rather than the automatic tally. And you have that option for members and new members again, and then same with the rank setting you have for both if you use both. If you have this unclicked up here, though, then it won't matter what you have for new members here. It won't total anything for them. And then you can say each person rank is out of, and do that as well. Here, the appeal setting, you can say don't allow members to appeal points after X date. So if all total points are due at the end of the semester by a certain date, you can click this and set that here. And then you also have when members are appealing their points, who that is going to notify. So you can set it to notify a specific admin. Same with new members. So let's say you have a different person, like the new member education person is going to be the one who gets the appeals for this. It may be somebody different, so you can do that. And then here is where you clear all your points. That cannot be undone. So again, if you don't clear them each semester, make sure you're not going in and doing this until whichever semester you clear them by. Here's where you can do that, and then you can just hit update settings whenever you're done. When you clear all the points, it's not going to clear your categories and your points possibilities. It will just clear all points that have been given out. So keep that in mind. If you ever need to update your actual points possibilities, you would go into here and edit those things. So, you know, for the home basketball game, maybe that is an older one and we want to update it, we can change the date on that and the scoring, like if this is once you've erased your points, or you can just add a new points possibility. And if you want to delete the old one, then same thing on here, you can delete it here. And this is where you could also, for whatever reason, if you know, people who appealed or something, like the people who have these points, it's incorrect and you need to go in and fix it, you can clear all the points for just that specific points possibility, as well as points for this. So if you know everybody was at an event, you can just hit give and it'll assign everyone the points. And that is it for your points. And again, once you have set up a points possibility, that's when you can link it to a calendar event. So next we'll look at our study hours here. For this, you can look at it by person and by study location. In the study location, you can see the list view or the map view of all your study locations. Sometimes it'll be kind of far out, but if you zoom into your specific location, you can see all the different place markers that you maybe have set up. When looking at this, you're also going to have up here a little settings menu, so you can look at your weekly breakdown, which is what this is here. You can add a new location. When you do this, same thing as like the location check-in. If you are wanting to add a specific location for that, you can zoom in if you know where it is on the map, or you can actually like enter the address. It'll pull it up for you, and then you can say whatever the location name is, add the new marker, and draw the circle around that accordingly. Zoom out so you can make sure it encompasses the whole thing if you want. And then you can also block hours at the study location. So if the library is closed on Sunday, I may block hours for that because nobody should be there on Sunday if it's closed, that sort of thing. And you can then, you can also set times for when that is blocked as well. And then you can save the changes and it'll add that new location into the system. For this, manage appeals. If any of your members are maybe having issues tracking their hours, or they forgot to turn their hours on, they can appeal for study hours as well. Same thing as with the points. When the appeal is resolved, it'll show here. If you have any current ones, it'll show here and you can approve or deny it. And same with the points, how it sends them a notification on if they were approved or denied. It'll do the same for the study hours as well. And then you also have settings for your study hours in particular. For this test account, we don't have where new members track study hours, but you can. If maybe you just want to get them practicing, you can have them track study hours as well. We have our start of the week day. You can change this. Maybe if you review it every chapter and your chapter is X day of the week, you want it to start the day after chapter, you can move this start of the week day, and you can block certain study hours like for all locations on this as well. So we have our chapter set for 7 p.m. on Sunday, so we have that time blocked off. And then here's where you can clear all study hours out. So again, with the points, this is something that can't be undone. If you want to clear out study hours for the end of the semester, though, to start fresh. So if you still have stuff from spring in here and you want to clear it out for fall to get a fresh start, this is where you would do that. It's not going to erase any of your locations or anything. It will just erase any time tracking that anybody has currently on here. One more thing you can do with your study hours is you can give study hours here as well. Maybe somebody didn't necessarily put in an appeal, but they told you about it and you need to add study hours for that member. You can go in and do that manually, and you can also set them a goal. So maybe different people have different study goals based on their GPA, and you can set them a goal for how many hours a week they should have recorded here as well. But that's for each individual member. Maybe you don't do it for all your members, but maybe ones who have or who are on academic probation, anything like that. You can go through and set that goal for them. After that, we are going to look at a few other things. I know we talked about excuses for the calendar. If there is excuses, like if you click for that to be an option, you can either look at that directly from the calendar. So on any event that allows an excuse, you'll be able to see like view excuses. If you are a member looking at your calendar, you'll be able to, they can like submit an excuse from here, from the event directly, and then as an admin, you'll be able to manage those on this page. Again, if it's approved or denied, either way, it'll send them a notification and you can give a reason for either one. So here you can see an excuse was submitted for this event here because of work. If you need proof, I believe there is the option to add like a file on your excuse when you submit it, but you can see multiple different excuses added here. And then you also have the option to export it and you can look at the settings. So as well as with the like the points who receives the appeal or anything like that. Same with the study hours. You can choose who that notification is going to go to. And then you can also clear these at the end of each semester if you want to clear any backlog on that. One other thing we'll look at is our files here. This is a great way to get things started for fall. If any of these need to be updated, you have several different things you can do here for adding your files. You can add different folders. You can make a folder a locked folder, and you can add to a pre-existing folder. So if you want it to be like a subfolder, maybe for officer elections, this folder is going to be like 2024. Something like that, the description, officer elections year 2024, anything like that. Again, you can say who it's going to be visible to. You can also make files that are password protected. So if you want to do that, you can, when you add the file, it'll be an option here. So we'll go through this. You can choose what file you're going to add, or it may be like an external link that you're adding. Say who it's visible to, and this is where you can add a password for that file. Here is where you can add it to a pre-existing folder. For recruitment, you may have different what you need to wear for each day or what the schedule is. If you want to upload that here, you can also send it out in an email and have it upload to the files. But any pertinent information you want, you can put it in your files here for your members to be able to have in one space, and you can alert when the file is created or put into the folder. So, and this is another one that you can choose to publish it to the wall, so that way when members are logging in, they see it at the top of the wall if that's the last thing to be done. And again, with the text messages, they have to have that set up, so just keep that in mind. You can put as many files and stuff as you want in here. Chapter bylaws. We have chapter minutes here, formal attire document showing like rules for that, Robert's Rule of Order to go over that. You can do a lot of different things here, but it's just a great way to consolidate where your information is at. And then lastly, we're going to move to looking at our communication within OmegaOne, so you can keep your members up to date and kind of tie all of these things together so that they are aware of everything. So under the admin tools, we're looking at groups here first. So managing groups. Within OmegaOne, you can add different messaging groups. So automatically, you'll have your groups for admins, alum, or all your different member types, as well as your admin and officer types. And then you can add, you see here we have 2 added groups for an events committee and officer election committee. Let's say we want to add one for like a recruitment committee. We can put the name of the group and then the direct email address that we want it to respond to or show it's coming from, and then who can join the group. You can either have it where you create the group, no one else can join it unless you put them in there, or you can have it like if you want a recruitment committee, you can do, people who want to be in it join themselves, and they'll be able to go in and do that. And then who can send emails, anyone on the list, or if you just want it to be officers and admins, you can do that as well. When someone replies, you can say it only goes to the original sender, or if you want it to go to the entire list, you can edit that as well. And then who the email group is for. When you do that, it'll show you everybody who you can add into the group. So if you want it to be for new members as well, you can do that and be able to see any new members. We don't have any new members in this group, so we don't have that, but basically we can see everyone listed here. If anybody needs to be added or removed from the group, so let's say we want to remove Allie from the group, we can just select the name and move it back over. Or if we need to add them back, then we can put her back in the group. So that's how you manage your different groups. And then you would just say add messaging group. Once you have all your groups set up, or even if you don't set up groups, you can send things to the entire chapter just based off of your already preset options here. You can go to your manage emails and text, and you'll have the 2 options here to send an email or send a text message. For the Emails, you can send them later. So if you have any set to send, you can view your queued emails, and then you can view previously sent items up here as well. So you just want to select the group that you are sending that to, put your subject in, and then put the body of your text. You can also add a file to that for emails. And then this is where you can either say send it now or send it later and set a time and date for that to go out. So you do have a little bit more wiggle room here with sending it now, sending it later, and having a file attached and that sort of thing. Whereas the text message, you don't have as much flexibility. This is kind of more if you want to send something out really quick, a quick update, maybe something changed for an event, and you just need to send a text really quick, like, hey, we don't actually need everybody at 1. You can arrive at 1:30. You can send the text to your members, and you are only allowed 140 characters on that. So just keep that in mind, and then you can send the text messages. And those you can't queue, those will automatically send in the moment. So that is your communication tools here. The last one you have is you do have OmegaOne chats that you can do as well. So here we have like a chat log. You can exit out of that if you want and pull it back up just by clicking your little chats here. There it is. So with your chats here, you can click into them to open that, add people to this. You can now add a group name. So you can see some of these are named specifically, and then you can always hide that. If you want to start a chat, you would search whoever you're wanting to start the chat with, start the chat, and then you can add more members to that chat. So then if I want to add Heather into this chat, I can do so. But this is just the chat information. I will go ahead and I'm just going to pull up and show our information here for the Help Center. So you can click the Get Help button, which is right up here to be sent to our Help Center. Has a bunch of different articles in there that you can go through. And then we also have our email here, softwaresupport@omegafy.com. If you have any questions, you can email us. And then we're going to give it a little bit more time. Hannah, have any more questions or have any questions come in?
Let me check one more time. I don't see any. No.
Okay. Well, we will go ahead and wrap up. We are right on time for ending today. Thank you guys again so much for joining us, and we hope you guys have a wonderful fall.